developing key relationships and prospects. This is my favorite chapter in this series because it's just filled with a lot of practical ideas and tips for you to identify important people in that industry so that you can get involved. One of the things I'd have you do or submit for your consideration is join the National Association of Home Builders. The National Association of Home Builders has state chapters and local chapters, and you can get involved. They have regular meetings where you can associate with other people that are interested in the home building industry. Now, some of these people are affiliates, and some of these people might be vendors like yourself, but there's a lot of home builders that are also in that environment. Getting into that environment, learning that vocabulary and the rhythm of that meeting schedule is something that I would absolutely recommend that you get involved with. Now, in addition to that, there's probably going to be a members list, list of members. So inside that list, sure, there's going to be vendors and affiliates, but there's also going to be a lot of home builders. This might be a really easy way for you to identify the home builders that are actively building and functioning in your marketplace. City officials and city employees. Now, before a developer does what they're doing, or before a home builder does what they're doing, guess what? They got to get permission. They got to get permission, and they need a permit. Well, their permit's got to be associated with the zoning. There's people in city government that oversee this process and help assist developers and builders get to where they have to go in their process to make sure that they're compliant with the rules set forth in the city. Now, I would highly recommend that you start identifying the sort of people that are in your city that have control over this process and are a part of this process. So there might be a planning commissioner, there might be a planning committee, there might be a city council person, there might be a building inspector. In fact, I'm sure there's a building inspector. You might be able to identify these people from the website. They might be in LinkedIn. You might be able to find them on Facebook. Now, I'm not saying that you stalk these people, but at the end of the day, I think you should go buy someone a cup of coffee, because having an understanding of who these people are and how they interact in the city is going to help you become a subject matter expert. And that's really your approach. You're going to approach these officials. You say, gosh, my name is Don, and I'm a realtor in the real estate industry here in the city. I'm trying to get a better idea of what the end-to-end process is around building, and I'd love to buy you a cup of coffee. Now, are they going to be open to that sort of thing? You might be really surprised in that they are. Why? A lot of these people are stuck in Cube City all day long, and they're just kind of doing their thing, and it's more maybe engineering-based, it's rules-based, it's not really relationship-based, number one. Number two, when they do hear from somebody from the general public, it's not always favorable. It's usually someone complaining about, well, I don't want them building this thing and blah, 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 blah. You people are horrible. You city people. And so you might be surprised at how receptive they are to listen to you and answer your questions. Another group of people that I want you to try to identify and get involved with are forward planners. And usually these people are working in large public companies, or they're working in large regional enterprises. What do these people do? These are the people that are helping acquire the land and entitled it, and maybe to subdivide it down into individual home sites so the builder can take over and build. A lot of times this is a division inside of a large home builder called forward planning. Now, the other thing they do is they do entitlements, and which means they might be changing ownership, but they also might be in there trying to get zoning changes and zoning variances. Now, lonely job, and a lot of times these people, in order for them to get a map approved or a subdivision map approved, they have to go in front of the city and they have to plead their case, and maybe they've got people that are speaking on behalf of the community, on behalf of the project. And guess what? That person could be you. You can find an opportunity to do that. Now, they're easy to find. You can find these people really on LinkedIn, Facebook. It's simple. All you have to do is go to LinkedIn and identify a large builder that's operating in your location, and then just click on it and start seeing their title. Their title is going to be Vice President of Land Development. It's going to be Director of Forward Planning. It's going to be Vice President of Operations. It's going to be Division President, Division Vice President. So you're going to be able to kind of identify these people by title, hook up with them in LinkedIn, and then take that relationship and start incubating it in a process, start developing that. These are forward planners in large home builders. Another great prospect for you are other brokers. Brokers that are selling land and home sites or subdivisions. Now, these people are typically in the commercial world. They're not necessarily just in the residential world. So I want you to take an opportunity and identify who these people are. Who are the people that are selling land, and who are the people that are selling lots, and who are the people that are selling acreage or large sections in your community and in your the location where you generally work. Now, these people are probably expert at doing just that. So they understand the entitlement process, they understand off-site improvements, which are how do we get water to the site, how do we get electricity to the site, what's the cost of sewer. So they start valuing their asset based on its ability to be developed depending on the growth of the city. This doesn't make them experts in residential home sales. Far from it. It's a totally different skill set. However, if you're able to befriend or identify these people and ask them some questions as part of your ongoing education, you might realize that, hey, there's a relationship here. This person just sold 150 home sites to this regional builder, and they're going to start building right away because they sold finished lots. At that point, the regional home builders, maybe they have architecture already ready to rock and roll. So maybe they're at a point where they're going to pull individual building permits to start building the models. So if you became aware of that way upstream, it's going to put you at a huge advantage to be able to approach that regional builder and say, hey, I was talking to Jim, Ted, whoever. I know you bought these finished home sites, and I know it looks like you're pretty close to pulling permits for the model homes. Have you figured out your solution for sales and marketing? I'd like to give you a proposal. I'd love to talk to you about that. Seems like a pretty dang good idea to me. Why don't you do that? A fantastic group of prospects for you are lenders who specialize in new home construction financing. So if you have people who are building individual homes, a lot of times what they'll do is maybe they pay cash for a lot, a home site, or maybe they finance it. And then what they do is take out some construction financing or bridge loan, and then at the end of it, it's a takeout loan. So they combine these two loans into one final mortgage. There are lenders out there who specialize in this activity specifically, and I think you should add them to your prospect list, because many times what you're going to find is that there are civilians, there are people out there who have a dream. I'm going to build a home one day. Great. And I've had this parcel of land sitting for a long time, and maybe I've got a couple of bonuses at work, and now I'm in a process where, okay, maybe I'm going to start investigating that. I'm going to go and build a home there. Now, if I'm a construction lender, or if I'm a residential construction lender, I may have had a conversation with this person 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago, I don't know. And maybe if I've been in the business for a long time, I have a lot of these people stacked up, and all they're really waiting for is a certain condition to happen before they start building their house. They're going to need money to do that, and I'm the guy who provides it, right? So wouldn't it be great as a real estate professional to be able to start prospecting these people so that you're connecting with them on a regular basis, and you start seeing as their pipeline matures, your pipeline matures. And guess what? You're an important part of their world, because if they can't find a home site and they can't find a lot, then is the construction debt ever going to happen? No. And so it goes. So what you want to do is prospect these lenders. Now, another group of financial people that you want to talk to, we touched on this a little bit earlier, are the big equity companies. So it might not be an individual lender lending on an individual home site and construction debt to make a final home. It might be something very different. It might be an equity group who is going to put up $50 million or $10 million or $100 million or $20 million on a residential construction project, and they're going to go ahead and become a partnership with that. You can identify these people, and they're not that hard. Just go and do an internet search, residential capital folks, right? So you're going to find there's a lot of people operating across the country, and there's a lot of people who operate regionally and even locally that are providing equity to the building industry. You're going to maybe even be able to find these people through the BIA, Building Industry Association, or the National Association of Home Builders. Many times there are affiliates and there's groups there. And it's an incredible prospect for you to start developing those relationships. One of my very favorite prospects in the entire ecosystem of the building industry are architects, residential architects, and here's why. Many times what happens is there's someone who wants to build a custom home, and maybe it's their dream home of dream homes, maybe it's their retirement home. And at some point in their profession, maybe they started accumulating a lot of money. And they finally got to a point is, honey, one day we're going to build that dream home, and it's going to be on the ocean, it's going to be in the mountains, it's going to be wherever it is. Guess what happens long before that person breaks dirt? What they're going to do is they're going to enlist the help of an architect and maybe do a feasibility study, or maybe even do some kind of a conceptual drawing, preliminary drawings. And so when people build their dream home, it usually doesn't happen overnight. It's usually a dream that they've been settling on for a long period of time. And guess what? Architects have these people stacked up. They have these people stacked up. One of the things you're going to find that when you start approaching architects, don't be intimidated by this whatsoever. You're going to find that a lot of architects are kind of a blend between artist and engineer. They don't have a lot of sales and marketing skill necessarily. They might, but they most likely don't. And they don't always have a lot of good interpersonal communication skills or follow-up skills. I would just tell you from my personal experience that the architects that I've met over the years don't really have very good business development skills, and they're not very good necessarily at running their business. They're very good at designing homes. They're very good at making cool things. They're very good at interacting with engineers and maybe even general contractors. Their skill set isn't marketing. Their skill set isn't marketing. So guess what? How do you approach these people? Really simple. Hey, you know what? I'm very curious about the sort of projects that you've done. I've seen your website. Seems like you've really made some really interesting properties. And so I'd love to talk to you about what you're doing for business development. Man, what a great way into that conversation. 9 times out of 10, they're going to say business development. Well, we work on a referral basis. That's fine. Are you organized in that? I'd like to talk to you about it. You know, I'm a realtor in the area. Periodically, I work with people who want to build custom homes. Periodically, I come across people who have lots or home sites for sale. I would just kind of like to pick your brain and ask you, do you have anyone out in your inventory or in your past database that is getting close to being able to want to buy a lot, buy a home site? Man, what a soft way of entry into that meeting and into that conversation. You're going to be surprised. These people would love to talk to you. Finally, one of the most obvious prospects that you have, and you already know about, is really simple. There might be brokerages or teams or individual brokers that are already out there operating dominantly in the new home space. It's a great opportunity for you to introduce yourself to that person and buy them a cup of coffee. Very interested in the building industry. I love what you do for a living. I'd like to learn more about it. Are there any opportunities for me to join your team? Or if not, can you give me a roadmap of best practices? I don't necessarily want to be in competition with you, but I'd love to learn what you have learned, and I'd love to be able to execute on that. Pretty simple thing to do. It's no different than if you're approaching any other team in this industry to achieve a similar goal. It's just this time it has to do with new construction. It's a great prospect. Don't overlook it, and they're easy to find. How? Go on the MLS and to see what the new construction is. What are the homes that are built this year or last year? Take a look at the listing agents. Bada boom, bada bang. That's your list of prospects. So here's the homework for this chapter. Well, guess what? There's no homework. Why? Because the whole chapter is homework. Now, I don't want you to feel like you're going on some kind of a wild goose chase, but I want you to put a good strategic plan together and start making a list of the people that you want to approach. Now, here's the thing. You may or may not get into a real estate conversation about development. You might get in a conversation about zoning. You might get in a conversation with any number of these other things, buying and selling home sites, lots, acreage, all this stuff. Don't get discouraged. It takes time for you to get from point A to point B in these relationships. But as you're doing this, what else are you doing? You're collecting names and telephone numbers. All these people that you're interacting with, They might be in the home building industry, but guess what? They also live in individual homes, and they sell homes and they buy homes. They do it all the time. And so if you just take the numbers, we know that, gosh, maybe about 6% of the population who own homes at any given point in the year is thinking about selling their house. Even if you're not getting a specific prospect that's going to give you a development deal or a construction deal or a new purchase deal, look, collect names, collect phone numbers, and follow up with people, because as a realtor, as a real estate professional, there's always opportunity in every single relationship that you meet.